Like for example, Priya Persimmon is a 4th grader. Her current GLE is a 4.1. We want her to be at a 5.1. She only needs to make a year's growth. Okay, now that doesn't mean they can't make more. Obviously, we want them to make more if possible. So this is kind of the planning that the district is looking at. And it's very similar to what we have done in the past with those percentages of like, you go into a low level 6, a mid level 6, a high level 6. But instead of using percentages of learning targets met, they're using the GLE, which is why it's super important that those are updated and backfilled, because the way that they do the math is they take all of the learning targets, they do their fancy math, and if a kid is missing a kindergarten learning target, that's gonna kick their GLA back to maybe a level 4, when really we know they're at a level 6. So,
If I could add just
yes,
what I said,
please.
kind of what Alberta said. Don't pass them, but if they pass a learning target or 2, it's critical that you mark them, because if you don't mark those 2 learning targets or 3, they're gonna be a lower GLE than a higher GLA, if you get what I'm saying. So even if they don't pass the class, that's fine. But if they pass a learning target or 2 or 3, mark it.
You have to mark it.
With the score 3, otherwise it won't count as a GLE.
So just to kind of add to that, a couple of things. So GLE is obviously more pressing, and at the same time, if you hypothetically have, 12 items within a learning target, and they're counted off as level 3, hypothetically, this kid probably should have credit for that learning target. So I think what I need everyone to realize is the work that we need to happen right now, and Andy and I talked about this today. Will you share your 2 cents? Remember, sorry, you have it.
That's a loaded question.
Well, is it based on Renaissance, or is the GLE, or is it based on their learning targets
Based on learning targets.
within Empower? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I had to get clarification, because
So-
when I see that, I think Renaissance, the GLE,
Right.
grade level equivalency, and I'm
And
like,
we can still take that into a little bit of consideration, especially if, like, let's say they hit Renaissance at a level 9, you might be able to pull some of those things and mark the learning targets off. But really, the district is very focused on using Empower and making sure it's used properly.
He remembers now.
I think I do remember. So when I looked at this, and like when I look at there, it says primary instruction level 5 and scaffold instruction level 4. What I told John is that what it seems to me is that we'll be teaching closer to what all of us are qualified to teach. Because these kids will be getting taught at a higher level than they maybe are. So we actually might be teaching middle school levels versus some people are teaching elementary levels, and we're like, I'm not trained for this. So I feel like this might help us to actually teach what we're trained for.
Yes.
What it's looking is truly the standard being more vertical than horizontal, if you can picture that. I don't want to go too deep into this. So really what I'm saying to you today is we are not doing the recommendations. We're taking that off your plate. The piece that is most critical is kind of the work that's been going on for the past 2 weeks. It's really making sure that those targets are marked off for each kid who should have credit for it. Is really, and by doing that, it will make the most current GLE.
So the spreadsheet's going to look like this, and you are going to have the primary instructional level, but also the scaffold. So we're looking up, right? So if the primary instructional level is level 5, then we're gonna need to scaffold to level 4, which we already know. This is stuff that we already do, right? So it is going to look a little bit different, and none of this is set in stone, because I know that Bridget is still working on it. So everybody's going to have access to this multi-level planning sheet, and basically it's going to have the proficiency scale. So this is level 2, addition and subtraction. The topic title, fluently add and subtract within 20. And then you're gonna have the coherence mapping, which is what comes before it. So these are the leveled skills that come before it. And then these are the learning targets that you might need to scaffold for that skill. Okay, so this is going to be done for math and literacy, and maybe more, I'm not sure at this point. Bridget said she's gonna have a really fun summer, so. So what that looks like when we're planning is going to look like this. It's going to start with a scope and sequence. As far as I know, everybody in the district will be expected to use the next following sheets. So you have your primary instruction proficiency skills. So if I am teaching that addition and subtraction, that's gonna be my primary focus. But what are the scaffolded instruction pieces that I need, right? If I want kids to add and subtract within 20, I'm gonna need to teach them how to count to 20. So that would be like the scaffolded instruction. And what unit you're going to teach that? Is that gonna be your first unit, your third unit, and then your pacing? And the pacing is gonna be super important to look at because they wanna make sure, if we go back to that GLE, that they're making that growth that they need to make. And the other thing that kind of, I think, tends to happen, we'll kind of go here. With pacing is, the other thing that tends to happen with pacing is, okay, if I'm teaching and I'm teaching all of you and you guys have that skill but you don't, I'm gonna move on. But that can't happen anymore because we're going for mastery in skills, at
So
least
how
in the
is
big,
that
in the main
SDS
skills.
then?
Because, well, you're gonna find out.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
if I'm teaching these 3 proficiency scales, again, addition, subtraction, counting to 20, whatever, I'm going to look at the Empower Target Browser, and I'm going to see how many kids are at mastery. So how many kids have already met this learning target? I'm gonna see how many kids have some experience with it, and I'm gonna see how many kids know nothing. Like they have not done this, they have not touched this, they don't even have score 2.0s. That's going to allow me to then do my CBS thing and say, okay, you guys have mastered, so here are your opportunities for deeper learning, and there will be links and you will have every single resource linked in there. But you guys, you've seen the learning targets, so maybe you just need to practice it on IXL and I can get that set up with stations, but you all have no clue how to add, so now I'm gonna have to look at pulling those small groups. So that's kind of where we're headed with the CBS pieces. So this is your, essentially, your planning, and you can see here, you can put in like, okay, well, you know, Andy and Alberta, they have not mastered this skill, so I'm gonna pull them because they still need to learn how to count to 20. But Pyburn and Baca, they have mastered the skill of addition, but I might need to pull them for subtraction. Woohoo! Right, and so basically you're gonna be looking at pulling these small groups within your classroom to build those skills and to get kids through those skill levels quickly. I will say, from my own experience as a teacher, I'm not gonna lie, this is a little bit easier at the elementary level because you teach those skills quickly and you move and you go, and it's a little bit faster. When you're teaching big concepts in literacy or math or science or social studies, it's a little bit harder. So that's where the district is going next year. Everybody will be given an opportunity during the symposium to go to a session regarding the planning. It will be optional, at least to attend a session. And then it has been heavily suggested, and I don't know what John and I are gonna do yet, that Tuesday then will be your time to work on some of this, building out your lessons with these templates.
So how it all connects then?
Yes.
Yeah, the first thing is you and I need a break. I need to shut this year down. I know you all feel the same way. And the last thing that I want to do is to hurt the momentum for next year. I don't want you guys, because it feels like, here's the next shiny thing, let's do it, get behind it, and then next year happens, here's the next shiny thing, you know, and that gets old, you know, and thank you, Enrique. You know, yeah. So the piece that I think that I wanted to kind of protect you all is that this was a lot to take in. This is a lot just to say, well, geez, I'm gonna have to do, and I didn't want you all to show up on day 2 and kind of be like, ugh. You know, I think.
What do you mean we
You
have
know,
to
what do you
do
mean
this?
by this? And I think so. What is so? Again, it's a shock value. It's kind of like what it is. It's a deeper planning. I think is really the
More
art of it.
intentional planning.
You know, my hope is that what she's kind of saying is that some of it builds and that it connects for you. I don't think it's fully developed yet. The other thing to know is, shoot, I lost my train of thought.
The other thing to know is.
Oh, yes, so the urgency. You say, well, why typically on the back end, how did we end up here? Is there's an urgency for me to have my master schedule built sooner rather than later. So I technically have to have it done the day you all start. So that if Erin walks into her class and she's set up to say, hey, these are my groupings, and they're like, hey, start working on it, that it's already built and I'm not giving you a class that's changing, hopefully. So all of these things are kind of a combination.
So Jessica, is
Yes.
that that's not for each individual student, right? It's just for each class?
For your
each
class.
level? Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Each level,
Okay,
yep.
okay.
Last couple of can you go back up to the PowerPoint, please? This is the final homework, and again, it's the shock value. So next year, and we're not walking in at a crawl. It's truly what I want to, including myself. My knowledge base is pretty low within Power. It just is. It's something I haven't truly valued as much as I probably need to have. There's a basic. I need everyone, and I mean that everyone, to truly watch this, whether you are an interventionist, whether everyone in the school. It does track whether you watched it or not, so please know that, but it's important for us to come in with a baseline knowledge, and I want us to do the work now so that we can come in and start working on other things, and we have enough to move forward versus us being like, well, how does this work? So that's my ask, is by Monday, please watch this video. It's 20 minutes. Other things.
Where do we find it?
I will put it on, I sent it to Teresa to put on the messages for Principal's Corner, so it's in the announcement, so it should live there, hopefully ASAP. When this movie ends, I'll make sure it's on there. Last part of today is this.
You can't touch it, it doesn't work.
Sorry.
Don't touch.
There should be a slide number 10.
Oh, I didn't know about a slide.
Yes. So the segue here is truly, there's a lot of moving parts within this master schedule, taking on a whole other staff and what they do. At the same time, we want to still provide choice within reason. And so Naomi and Jamie are going to drive this last part of today. So I'm going to step out. Jamie?
Yeah, so all it is elective choices for next year. And because of all this craziness at the end of the year, we're just gonna do a Google survey. And we're gonna probably have it housed on the homepage. And we wanna push it out as.
What homepage when you say that?
Oh, the shop,
Heights.
right?
Okay.
Is that where? That's where you- Okay. So during AE, if you can, sometime between tomorrow and the last day of school, try to get all your students to fill out the survey. And all it really does is it's gonna put it on a spreadsheet, and it's gonna put in their 1st through 6th choice for electives. And then we're gonna get on the spreadsheet and start hand entering all of their choices.
You don't want 8th grade to do it?
Sixth and
Oh, yeah,
seventh
this is just 6th and 7th, so
Okay.
we already did 5th.
Okay.
So yeah, so if you're 8th grade AE, you're off the hook, so. Also, random students are going to be doing the same survey. We're just doing a few last minute STEM things to see which STEM classes we're gonna be having. But, yeah, so we have a link to the electives page, that Bree put up there. So when, you might wanna do that first, go over the electives, let them see exactly what they wanna choose. And then once they decide, then they could hit the other link, for the survey. And, then it just goes into the survey. Yeah, look at that.
You wanna add to your page, let me know, I'll make it better. We all make it.
Yeah, and also, we might be having an extra STEM class that I'm not sure about, so we do need to upload the description of whatever that STEM class is. Okay, and then maybe hit the Google survey.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and it just looks like that. There's 2 pages, they fill that first page out, and then it'll go to the second page with 1 through 6 choices of their electives. That's it.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Good luck.
Oh my God, round of applause, Jamie. Any final questions before we get into this glorious cake?
Just,
Naomi? Yes, oh, sorry.
Eel's just chaperones, meet in my room at 2:10.
So if you look